In case you missed it, former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson got his payoff today from Barkey by being named Secretary of Commerce. UPI is reporting out of New Delhi, the latest in the round of I won't call it give and take, take and take, throw and throw. Pakistan must take responsibility for terrorists in its borders, accused by India, of course, of the attacks on Mumbai. So this is out of the mouth of none other than the SS Condoleezza Rice herself. Pakistan must take responsibility for terrorists inside its borders, said the Condi woman.
Well, all we need is some proof there, Condi. And there you go again. We want to congratulate...
Come on, Webster. You're going to ruin their fun if you ask for proof. They haven't been doing it for 8 years. Why should they start now?
We have to congratulate Judas there on his nomination. But the more serious thing, of course, is this terrorism.
Yeah.
They have no proof. The Indian government says they have one guy from Lashkar-e-Taiba, and we'll get to him in a minute. But it's really, that's what they say. Fine, have a press conference and let him tell his story or something like this. And it has been denied by the organization in question. Now, again, the first reports were that some of these commandos who were doing the shooting were British and basically Pakistanis or British citizens of Pakistani origin. That disappeared rather quickly. But remember, Brixton Mosque, Finsbury Mosque, that operation up in Leeds in Yorkshire, there is a recruiting operation by MI5, MI6 to get some patsies and to convoy them into terrorism, in particular vis-a-vis Pakistan. So I think that's very, very plausible that the British were involved. Secondly, we have the U.S. The CIA has posts in the federally administered tribal areas. That is this area of northwest Pakistan, I guess, where the authority of the central government is very tenuous. This is where the U.S. is killing people all the time with Predator drones. The reports I have is that the Pakistani military is telling them where armed fighters are located. The U.S. ignores those reports and bombs villages, wedding parties, and other places where they can kill the most civilians because some of these armed fighters are working for the U.S., for the CIA, and therefore this is a very good reason for the Pakistani government to kick the CIA and all Anglo-American NGOs, non-governmental organizations, out of the Northwest Frontier Province, Peshawar, and the federally administered tribal areas.
Well, so they want to balkanize Pakistan, don't they, in a way?
Yeah, we'll get to it. But let's just focus on the ingredients, right? The people involved. Now the Israelis. The relation between India and Israel is very, very elaborated. The Israelis, of course, always reach out to people beyond the Arab belt, beyond the Muslim belt, to particularly countries like India that have gripes vis-a-vis Muslim countries like Pakistan. There's a lot of military hardware being delivered by the Israelis. We have the visit of General Mizrahi, of the commander of the Israeli ground forces, who did a very provocative thing by visiting Kashmir. And Kashmir, of course, is a disputed area. It's an area that has been divided. It's essentially a de facto armistice line of control between the Pakistanis and the Indians. This goes back to the 1940s. The relevant UN resolutions are that there should be free elections in the area. India has always blocked these free elections because they know they'll lose. The population would, well, I think the vast majority, would want to go with Pakistan. India will not allow it. Therefore, this situation festers. We used to hear about how many UN resolutions Saddam Hussein had violated. Well, the Indians are doing pretty well in violating resolutions concerning Jammu and Kashmir. But the Israelis are also reported to have been training the Indian commando forces, which would maybe explain why the Indian commando forces were so pathetic. See, the Indians said, we're not going to negotiate, we're sending in our military forces. But the affair went on for 65 hours. As soon as you're not going to negotiate, if you send in your military, it should be over in 1 to 2 or 3 hours with some casualties, but it should be basically over.
Right.
So their performance from any objective point of view was pathetic. It was obviously an attempt to keep this bloody theater going on as long as possible through the American Thanksgiving into the weekend, getting the absolute maximum propaganda mileage. Now, let's look at a couple of others. The RAW. You've heard of the ISI, right? The Pakistani Inter-Services Intelligence, right? They've been demonized to kingdom come by the U.S., and indeed they are dirty. There were British elements in there. There were U.S. CIA elements in there. A lot of what the ISI does, it does as a subcontractor for the U.S. and the British. At the same time, the ISI is also part of the Pakistani military, and they are the bearers of nationalism, somewhat in the spirit of Ataturk, I would say, and they're what holds the country together. So there's a kind of a strange hybrid thing going on with the ISI. The group that you never hear about is the RAW. That's the Indian intelligence. And they are, to put it mildly, very, very nefarious. It's amazing. The ISI has been demonized. The RAW has gotten off, they've gotten a free pass.
Nobody knows who they are over here.
The Research and Analysis Wing. Mm-hmm. That's the RAW. Now, what does the RAW do? The RAW is massively present in Afghanistan. And the stories are that they recruit Mujahideen fighters out of Afghanistan for use then in various provocations, that the RAW goes into the tribal areas of northwest Pakistan and supports attacks against the Islamabad government. So the RAW is massively engaged against Pakistan, and they could easily pick up these people that some of these patsies that were used in these attacks. Now, the other thing is Hindu terrorism from inside India. This is a very, very interesting question. If you go to some websites, you'll see that one of the supposed killers, supposedly shown on these pictures, you never know, but the guy has got this red or pink band around his right wrist.
Yep.
This is apparently a religious paraphernalia of the Hindus, certainly not of the Muslims, but of the Hindus. So that guy looks like he might be a Hindu. And more broadly, there is this group called the RSS. I guess the quick shorthand for them is Hindu fascists, attempting to restore some mythical Hindu empire. Mm-hmm. They have a swampy, what can we say, area that's somehow linked to them, not identical, but close to them, maybe inspired by some of them, who are terrorists, who do carry out terrorist attacks. So this RSS, on the other hand, is it's a part. It supports in a very general way the BJP. In other words, the pro-Hindu, the nationalist party of that had been in the government, until Singh came in, and there's going to be an election soon. The BJP and the RSS would have every reason to foment terrorism in order to promote an anti-Muslim and anti-Pakistani backlash, and they could kick out the current government, Manmohan Singh, saying that he's a softie, he's soft on terrorism. Certainly the interior minister already quit, so they could get some mileage out of that. So if we go through it, the 5 groups would be British intelligence MI6, the CIA operating in the tribal areas, the Israelis, certainly, the RAW, the Indian intelligence service, and these Hindu fanatics in particular.
Excuse me, Webster, there's one more, I think. This alleged drug king who is trying to, according to some of the stories, get even with India. He was running the major drug and crime syndicate in Mumbai, and apparently they threw him out. And there was a revenge factor. This story is running around as well.
Well, good, and that might fit into one or another of these intelligence.
Could overlap several of them. We don't know.
So we basically got them 6 ingredients, don't we? Right. Interesting is that one of the main people who died in these attacks is a man called Karkare.
He's died first.
K-A-R-K-A-R-E.
They had a sniper standing by to take him out real quick, knowing he was going to lead his men personally, apparently. And he was the first guy to die. 3 bullets to the chest.
And 2 or 3 of his most trusted associates who would have carried on his work if they had survived. The idea with this is there had been an attack in this general area some time ago. And what he had been doing is, instead of simply assuming that these are automatically Muslims coming from Pakistan, he began looking into the Hindu terrorism. And this freaked out the BJP and the RSS and this entire Hindu nationalist to fascist community. And they began screaming that this guy had to be fired. And now, of course, he's dead. This is his investigation of the Malagan blast, which killed 37 people back in '06. He said, look, it's quite possible that Hindus did this, not Muslims at all.
Right, right.